to introduce the three organizers of this parallel session and to introduce also the speakers, and then also to suggest some ideas, some ideas in the background to help us to focus about the connection between the climate agenda and the food agenda. And I'm speaking not only about food and climate, but also the agenda, because one thing that we would like to discuss is concretely to create the basis, also from a technical but also institutional point of view, between the two agendas. It's not only a scientific topic, a technical topic, but also an issue from an institutional point of view. Wow. Okay, the organizers are three. The first is Economia e Sostenibilità. I am the president of Economia e Sostenibilità. We are a non-profit and totally independent think tank, I can say. We work, we are based here in Milan, but we work worldwide. And we supported since the beginning, also before the beginning, the food policy of Milan and also the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact for many years. And we work also worldwide. CNCA, Climate Neutral Cities Alliance, is a group of very, very, very committed cities working on climate change for local climate policies. Is made mainly with a political endorsement, but mainly with the work of technical people, directors of sustainability and climate change in cities. And then the government of Brazil, which has a unique experience. It will be presented at the end of the presentation. A unique experience in creating a national agenda between food policies and climate policies, also working with cities. So it's something very different to what we usually speak about in this global forum. So just some data to create the environment of our discussion. As you know, there are a lot of connection between food, I mean the food system, and the climate impact. There are a lot of studies made by UNDP, GAIN, so United Nations, civil society organization, technical scientific groups, with different percentage. It depends on the concept of food system that you have. So more or less 30%, it is said by the different studies, more or less 30% of the climate impact, the global climate impact, is produced by the food system. Why it is related to the concept of food system? Because we are not speaking about agriculture, we know, then production and consumption, but what is there behind and inside and outside of production and consumption? Transportation, waste management. So depending on the kind of dimension of the system you are thinking about, there are different percentages. So if you are technical people, you know that there are differences in data collection. But the concept is that a huge part, this is the message, a huge part of the global impact of CO2 emission is based and related on the food system. If you get deep inside, this is only the example about transport. What is the impact of the transport of food in climate impact? Also, as I said before, depend on the kind of measurement that you use, but the message is that transport is an important part of the food system, not only food, what we eat. And food transport, generally speaking, is about 20% of the total food system emission. So 30% of the total global emission. In that 30%, about, I say about, 20% is for transport. We are here from Malaysia, Canada, Argentina, Chile, Finland, and so on. So the percentage varies. So it doesn't matter here. we work with data, but it's not a technical problem. We have to catch the problem. And we know that inside the transports, there are road transports, so trucks, automobile, and so on, then rail, shipping, aviation. Why it is important to reflect about this? Because we speak about the food miles, how many miles the food is, okay? The food miles embedded in food. There are a lot of transport with trucks at the urban level. So it's something that maybe we have a global data, but what is important for us is to understand that a huge part of these transport emissions are made in urban context. Urban means city, metropolitan area, to arrive in the city, because maybe we can have a small impact if you go shipping. So if you have by boat, if you go by boat, you have maybe for 1 kilo of food, not too many emissions, but when you go on the road. And so it's a problem of the city. Transportation, the last mile is really a problem of the city. So another topic, just to put on the table some reflection. This is a part of a study that we did in ESTà as a comparison between 3 European countries, the climate impact of food in Germany, France, and Italy. And the concept that I would like to give you is that you can import and export your impact. So for example, in green, the CO2 importing states contained in food consumed locally and produced abroad, okay? So you import some CO2 emission. They are not in your city, but they are produced away, okay? And in red, the exporting state, the complementary data. So for example, Italy import a lot of CO2 for cereals, because we eat pasta, but we don't produce enough cereal for our pasta and pizza, for example. But then there is another value for meat, because we import a lot of meat from South America, typically from Argentina, okay? And the situation is different in France, Germany. So these are national data, because the data are available only at national level, sometimes regional level, city level, not anymore. But the concept I would like to highlight is that when you are working in your city, in your general market, for example, there are parallel sessions about general markets. The food of the general market is produced where? In Argentina, New Zealand, in Thailand, in Canada. So in your city, you have to face with this kind of problem. When we speak about local food, we are speaking about this. These are only 2 examples, not to go deep inside, but just to say that there is a dynamic between the global level and the local level. And also from the point of view of the problems and the solutions, there is a dynamic between local and global. So when we are speaking about cities, we are here because we are speaking about cities, and we know the key role of cities on the food system. But then we think that with other people, that there is a global narrative on climate. 99% of the narrative on television, the media, is global. And the problem is to understand what is happening locally. So we have a problem in the narrative, because sometimes when we speak with our citizens, it's not enough to say, okay, eat in some way some kind of food because there is a global problem. Yes, but I live here. I don't see the problem. You can tell me some data, some numbers, but I don't see the problem. So we have all to discuss what are the best narrative for us, and thinking about also the growing fake news about climate. They are growing now, negationism and so on. Then what kind of data? I show you, we have some data local, but we need to feed our narrative with local data, which is a problem because most part of the data all over the world, even if you are in Niamey, in Niger, or in New York, you are in the United States, there is a problem to feed the narrative with good data, and then governance between local and this is why we have here 4 cities and 1 national government who has this kind of very, very progressive idea to have a national perspective on this, to work with cities. So this is only to put on the table some topics and some reflections. Then I'm inviting here the 4 cities. The Brazilian government will come later. The 4 cities with some concrete experiences on creating a local agenda and a local governance, and sometimes also local data on climate and food to connect the agenda. So I'm inviting here our first in alphabetical order, Helsinki with Matti, then Minneapolis with Alison. Alison, here, come here please, at the table. Oasco, Brazil. Oasco is close to São Paulo. João Pucciarello from Italian and Spanish origin. Okay, okay. And Seberang Perai, so Malaysia. So the floor is your Helsinki, Matti. So we can. This is our place. Maybe someone of you were in Kasinhakukanha 2 days ago in the field visit. Kasinhakukanha, our office is in Kasinhakukanha, so if you want to. So the floor is yours, and we can start from...
Can I change the slide?
Yeah. Can you change the presentation? Matti? The second one. I asked to them to speak in 8 minutes to keep the time and to have the time then to discuss a bit, because we have to close sharp at 1 p.m. because we have to go all together to the dinner in Palazzo Reale, I think, the Royal Palace. So please, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Sorry for my voice, I try to be clear. Thank you for the opportunity to share our experiences from Helsinki, the capital of Finland. And first of all, I want to congratulate our neighbors from Vantaa from great success yesterday in the ceremony. My name is Meri Matlin. I work as a sustainability specialist for the city of Helsinki. Firstly, I want to start with our vision. You can see it here. That is, that in 2035, the food we're serving in our public food services are in line with the planetary diet framework. We have 10 years to go, and it's a big challenge, but we're committed, and this is public commitment. I was asked to present our strategical goals and policies, and the most important one of them is the Helsinki City Strategy. It's very new, it's just published this summer by the City Council, and it's stated there that our emission reduction target is minus 85% by 2030, and we're aiming to net zero on 2040. This is an ambitious goal. But it's notable that over here it's mentioned also the Scope 3 emissions. We're targeting to reduce the emissions created by the public procurement, food included, food services also. Also our medium-term goals or long-term goals are listed in our City of Helsinki environmental goals for 2040. And there it says that we're reducing the environmental effects caused by the public procurement. And the other extremely important goal is to halve the consumption of meat and dairy products in our food services. I will come back to this later. And then on top of that, we have our procurement strategy that states the same things too. As you can see, many of our ruling strategies focus on the public procurements, which have a huge impact. Okay. To increase your understanding of our operating environment, I want to shortly describe how the public food services in Helsinki and in Finland general operate. Here you can see some of our numbers. We're producing 100,000 meals a day in our central kitchen. We are preparing 44 school lunches, and in Finland, school lunch has been served for free for every single student for 85 years. This is something we're very proud of. And at the moment, we're serving 2 hot meal options for everybody in schools. All the public procurements we do are centralized, so is the menu planning and food preparation in our central kitchen. The menus are planned based on the national nutritional recommendations. Also, the costs are ruling our ingredient selection, and then cities' environmental goals affect on them too. We have a great possibility to influence the food consumption of our customers because there are so many of them and they are quite young. We have 350 daycares where we operate and 10,000s of kids that we're serving every single day. So it's a very good point to affect their food behavior. Here is some of our climate work described, what we have done during the past couple of years. On the pie chart on the right-hand side, it's visualized how our meal types are divided between different protein sources, 1/3 of them being meat-based, only 1/3. Actually, 2/3 are vegetarian and half of them are even vegan. Everybody has access to vegetarian food every single day, and most of them are vegan. We are reducing our red meat consumption constantly and focusing on reducing white meat consumption next. As I mentioned before, we have had this target to halve the consumption of meat and dairy products by 2025. The starting point was 2019. And here you can see how we have reduced the meat and dairy consumption over the couple of last years. This has not been easy, but we have been quite ambitious. Here are listed some practices, what we have done in our food development. We're also serving oat milk for every child in the daycares and replaced meat in some of our very liked recipes in the school food. For example, we got some good experiences from replacing it with the plant protein sources. We do this annual comprehensive customer survey, and according to this, our vegetarian and vegan options are actually very liked with our students. For example, the vegan tortilla has been voted to be top 3 food we're serving in general. We have studied our meals and recognized some of the meals with the highest carbon footprint. And now our food designers are developing the recipes that we could replace them with other sources of protein. But we are not done yet. Actually, this is just the beginning. As I said, our goal is to meet the planetary diet requirements by 2035, so we have 10 years to go on that. Here are some examples what we are doing at the moment. As I said, we're replacing animal-based proteins with plant-based ones. And then, what else? and we're planning a roadmap what to do to meet the goal of 2035. And this is where we're heading. I'm very hopeful that in 10 years I will be here presenting how we met this goal.
Thank you, Mary, also because you were perfect in time. So I don't know if
Finns
you are
known for that.
I don't know if you are familiar with the planetary diet, but it's a world reference about it because there is a combination of nutritional aspects and environmental and especially climate impact. Because the question is, the problem is not only to have a less climate impact, but to create the condition for a good nutrition according to the local culture. In fact, you spoke about it, no? How to, it's a kind of soft policy to say you can choose, but in the first part of the menu you find something with less food with the climate impact, which is interesting.
We're using them very much.
Okay. Alison Babb from Minneapolis. Minneapolis and Helsinki are also not only two signatory Milan Pact cities, but also they are part also of Climate Neutral Cities Alliance, CNCA. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Andrea, for the invitation to present. It's an honor to be here with all of you at the forum. So, one thing to know about Minneapolis that seems to be very unusual compared to my sister cities around the world is that our schools have a separate governance board, a school board. So our city actually has nothing to do with school meals. I am pleased to report that in our city, the schools are doing an excellent job of procuring local food. So maybe one of my colleagues can come in the future and speak about school food, but my presentation will be on what the city is doing, which does not pertain to school food, which I think is kind of unusual compared to what I've been hearing from other places around the world. So as Andrea said, I'm Alison Babb. I work in the Minneapolis Health Department. Minnesota is in the middle of the United States, very far north, almost in Canada. It's a city of about 350,000 people. So the city of Minneapolis signed the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact in 2017. Oh, thank you. Can you hear me okay now? Okay. So we signed the pact in 2017, and like all of you, as part of our commitment, we developed our own plan for a sustainable, local, resilient, equitable food system. Ours is called the Minneapolis Food Vision, or just the vision. It's a 2033 vision for an equitable, climate resilient, just, and sustainable local food system and local food economy, and was adopted by our city council in March of 2023, so about 2.5 years ago. It includes 6 priority areas, 29 related strategies, as well as suggested metrics. And it's really, as I mentioned, it's focused on actions the city can take. The vision is based both on our past work. We began this project of Homegrown Minneapolis in 2008, but it's also in alignment with the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. In addition to being a standalone document, the vision is also a companion plan to our city's climate equity plan, which was also adopted in 2023. So some cities call plans like this one a climate action plan. When Minneapolis updated ours, we really wanted to focus on equitable outcomes. So that is why our plan is called a climate equity plan. It outlines goals and strategies to achieve climate equity in Minneapolis. It sets a goal to significantly reduce climate pollution by 2030 and become carbon neutral by 2050. Through the process of the development of the plan, we integrated many strategies related to climate from our food vision into the climate equity plan. My team participated in the Food and Zero Waste Circular Economy planning group, as well as the Green Spaces planning group, and worked closely with our colleagues in the Sustainability Office throughout the process to advocate for inclusion of food-related issues into the plan. One example of inclusion of Minneapolis food vision priorities into the climate equity plan is on this slide. Why are my slides advancing? No. Next slide, please.
The green?
Yeah, it's not going.
No, press it. Okay.
Okay, there. Okay, so the work of implementing the climate equity plan is funded by a new funding stream called the Climate Legacy Initiative. $10 million was dedicated to this fund in 2024 with a commitment to continue this level of funding each year. Because we were able to integrate food system strategies into the climate equity plan, in 2024, as you can see on the slide, 2% of the funding supported our work to prevent and reduce food waste and support sustainable urban agricultural projects. In Minneapolis, much of our trash is incinerated or burned, and about 19% of what goes to the incinerator, or where they burn the trash, is wasted food. So it's the largest category of preventable waste. And that's very important because most food is wet, and wet takes more energy to burn. So this is a big problem for our trash management. Our work through the Climate Legacy Initiative funding is designed to prevent impacts like this one. Yep, hold it. I am. Next slide, please. Where should I point? Okay, thank you. So now I want to highlight some of what has been able to happen as a result of this investment by our city, because we were able to integrate food system strategies into our climate equity plan. So with this funding, we funded 16 community-led projects. They ranged from $5,000 to $25,000, which is roughly 4,000 to 21,000 euros. And total, so it's a total of $316,000 or 272,000 euros. This year we were able to continue funding about 14 of those projects that were wanted to extend their work, but at a little bit lower funding. Our mayor had some additional things that they wanted to add, so everybody reduced their budgets. It's still a $10 million a year investment, but it's divided more ways. Many of the projects combine 2 or more of our focus areas. So 7 are doing food rescue and redistributing it to food shelves and communal meal programs. 6 are preventing food waste using other strategies, like expanding the number of households composting food scraps. 10 projects are sustainably growing food in the city, and 3 are using energy-efficient season extension structures to extend the growing season into the colder months. This picture in the bottom left is a picture of one of our deep winter greenhouses, which are passive solar greenhouses so that you can grow food into the winter. It's very cold in Minnesota, so this is important. Through these projects, we are building healthier, more climate resilient communities, and at the same time helping residents get access to fresh and healthy food. Next slide, please. I don't know what's happening. Okay. So just to give you some very concrete examples, one of these contracts funds the Nourishing Neighbors program at the Kingfield Farmers Market. So at the end of the market day, the market pays farmers $1 a pound to donate any produce that was not sold during the market. And then volunteers from another organization, Twin Cities Food Justice, come to rescue the food and redistribute it to food shelves, to people in need, to vulnerable families. So the Twin Cities Food Justice also has something called the Produce Preservation Program. They take food from the market that is suitable for freezing. So the picture on the left is the food from the farmer's market being weighed so that the farmers can get paid for their donation. The picture on the right shows the Produce Preservation Program, where we're taking excess produce from the peak growing months, so August and September in particular, where there's a lot of local produce, and then minimally processing it, so washing, peeling, prepping, and then freezing and vacuum sealing to be able to store the food until winter when there is much less produce available, locally especially, and then distributing it to food shelves in the winter. So this is a great example of the work that we've been doing. Our goal as a city is a more just, resilient, and equitable food system. Through these projects, we are growing food using sustainable production methods, using energy-controlled environments to extend the growing season, and reducing food waste. All of the projects are environmental justice efforts, and either supplying sustainable or local food to low-income residents through free food distributions. And then based on the number of pounds rescued, using the refed calculator, it's anticipated that this will avoid 2,122 total metric tons of CO2 emissions between 2025 and 2050. And just to end, our partners are doing all these things while helping to advance climate, health, and racial equity in our city. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Alison, for thank you, Alison, for introducing some concept. Doesn't work. Alison introduced some concept, the concept of social equity and climate justice, in relation also with the budget of the city. So how to measure the climate impact, taking into account social justice and climate equity, or climate justice and social equity, as a way also to measure the total amount of budget you can use, and then how to redistribute the values, monetary values, but also social and climate value. So thank you. João Pucciarello Perez from Brazil, Osasco, which is a close city to São Paulo. So just to point out the place.
Can I use your microphone?
It's here?
To be here there?
You want to stay? Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Andrea. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and pleasure to be here, represent my city, my team, our people, and a lot of families that we work for. In my presentation summary, I have just 80 minutes. I will be fast. And I would like to say a little bit about Osasco's background, premises of the food security and climate agenda, some programs, descriptions, networks and connections, Osasco's gas emission. We have a new greenhouse gas emissions inventory and some goals that we are working for. This is me. I don't want to talk about me. I'm Osasco's Executive Secretary of Food Security and Sustainability. And I'm a lawyer, and I'm working on this agenda since 2020. Osasco, we have more than 743,000 people living. Is one of the biggest cities in São Paulo state. We have the 7th largest gross domestic product, economic product in Brazil, and the second one in the state of São Paulo. Some premises of the food security and climate agenda, from the framework, the guideline, the federal government guideline that our friend will talk about. And this premises is important to us to work in the food security agenda. I would say that some important here is that the food system includes all elements and activities related to health, climate, people, infrastructure, institutions, productions, processes, distributions, preparations, and consumptions, as well as their socioeconomic and climate consequences. Food, Andrea say here when he talking about the food availability and productions are increasingly threatened by climate impacts, food loss and waste, responsible for about 30% of all food produced, significantly contribute to CO2 emissions. This is one of our programs, one of the biggest food bank in Brazil. We collected in last year more than 1,400 tons, and we can help more than 21,000 people weekly. We have 100 no-profits benefits every week. This is the food bank, is a new one that we make new constructions with the government, federal, and the municipality. In our food bank, almost the donations are origin 98% from combating food waste. That's the important number. And so we work combat food waste to avoid unnecessary emissions of gas. The methane emissions is one of the worst gas to global warming. When food is thrown away, put in the trash, and that's up in landfills, we would produce methane, a greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming. That's important to talk. How does combating food waste help the climate? It avoids the unnecessary use of natural resources. It reduces creation of organic residues in landfills, reducing methane gas productions. It stimulates circular economy also. Food banks play an essential role in circular economy where their resources are used to its maximum, reducing garbage and promoting conscious consumptions. The food bank is a strategy program in my city, in Osasco City. We have some networking connections that help us to work in this climate agenda. I'd like to say about the Urban Laboratory of Public Food Policies that Thais works in this no-profit organization. We are in the Alimenta Cidades federal program, is a feeding cities that Gisele and Claudia represents here. Osasco as one of the priority cities in Brazil that receive federal government resources. We are in the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact since 2022. We are new members. We are just children here. That's why we do. So, we are in the Brazilian Food Bank Network. It's an important group. Osasco is a member of the Food Bank Management Committee. It's a federal government committee. We work in the Food Acquisition Program. It's a federal program. We receive more than 480,000 reais. It's like $100,000 in the first edition in 2024, and these years we receive more 100,000, 500,000 these years to buy food from family farming to distribute to families experience food insecurity in our city. It's a good program. We have some 21 urban gardens in Osasco. Urban agriculture policy transforms underutilized urban areas into productive spaces through agroecological practices. The program promotes capacity building activities, supplies inputs, and provides technical assistance. We have 70 farmers working in the urban spaces. We have urban school gardens, is another program to promote a healthier and more sustainable school. And now we will start the new programs, the urban orchards, with a focus on strengthening and expanding the food security and sustainability policies through the planting of native fruit trees in public spaces. We don't have so much green areas to work on that. That's the big difficulty to work in the urban orchards. But we understand that urban orchards as green spaces with fruit tree species provide healthy food to the population. This is a new program. This is an 8-month pilot project conducted through a founding agreement with no-profit Casa Viva Institute, made possible by a municipal resources allocation agreement through the city council. Okay, this is the first greenhouse gas emissions, and we have 42% of many emission sectors from transportation. Thank you, man. I think I have finished my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joao, for introducing the special topic. We have to speak about it later, about the local data, which was one of the last slide, because they have a general strategy for food with climate perspective and also some monitoring system, which is not so common around, because I told that most part of the data are global, national, at least regional, but locally. We have to discuss about it because we have to share, also to speak informally about it. Then the last presentation coming from the city, from Malaysia, Mr. Muhammad Naim. They have very interesting experiences about mangrovia. You know, mangrovia are very important for climate, for a lot of biodiversity issues and so on. But then there is a connection in that city between the quality of environment, the reduction of climate impact, and the capability to create a good environment for food, also from fisheries. So it's another perspective, quite particular, but the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'm honored to represent SISAN City Council today, and I'll be sharing our journey in mangrove conservation, a story of resilient community empowerment and sustainable development. Our initiative, Protect Mangrove, Grow Fisheries, is more than an environmental campaign. It's a blueprint to climate action, food security, and inclusive growth. Okay, this is me. My name is Muhammad Ali, Senior Assistant Director at SISAN City Council. I lead the Sustainable Environment Division, which comprises 4 key units. There is recycling, waste separation, community garden and composting, environmental education, and also upcycling project. We also integrate circular economy practice on low carbon strategies to align with the Sustainable Development Goals and our city's vision of becoming green and sustainable city. Okay, this is Bramprai. As you can see, it is located up north in Malaysia. Okay, so Bramprai is the mainland half of Penang. It covers 759 square kilometer and is home to over 1 million residents. Our mangrove forests span over 1,000 hectares, playing a vital role in supporting our economy, especially in manufacturing, agriculture, interport trade, and fisheries. These ecosystems are not just green spaces, they are economic asset and cultural heritage. Okay, the importance of mangrove. Mangroves are natural farmland defender. They shield our coastline from erosion and storm surge, serve as nurseries for fish and crustaceans, and offer ecotourism opportunities in places like Pulau Aman and Kuala Juru. They absorb carbon dioxide, filter pollution, and provide habitat for migratory birds. They also serve as outdoor classroom, helping us educate future generation and fulfill SDG 13 and 15. Okay, this is our location of mangrove. Our mangrove zone are spread across Bramprai, and it has 11 sites that support traditional fishing, ecotourism hotspot, and also the key bird migration route. Okay, each area has unique ecological and socio-economic value. Okay, this is the type of wild habitat that are bird, mammal, reptile, aquatic life, insects, and also mangrove flora. Okay, this is a comparison between mangrove and terrestrial forest. Unlike terrestrial forests, mangroves store most of their carbon below ground. This makes them exceptional for long-term carbon sequestration. They not only capture CO2 but also lock it away in their soils, making them powerful allies in the fight against climate change. Okay, according to conservation studies, mangrove in Bramprai provide 3.7 million per year in fisheries, 0.75 million per year in ecotourism, 21.5 million in carbon storage, 0.6 million per year in coastal protection, and 0.9 million per year in water quality improvement. These figures highlight the tangible economic value of preserving mangrove. Okay, these are the challenges. Despite their importance, mangrove face serious threat. Declining fish catches due to habitat loss, coastal development and land reclamation, lack of public awareness and engagement, and this challenge require urgent, coordinated action from all stakeholders. Okay, mangrove are natural climate buffer. They reduce flood risk and storm damage. Their roots stabilize soil and prevent erosion. They help coastline adapt to rising sea level. They also create cooling microclimate and reduce heat stress. Most importantly, they protect life and livelihood, reducing disaster and recovery costs. Okay, the benefit. Mangrove contribute to biodiversity, supporting fish, birds, and reptiles. For fisheries, it's sustaining local seafood market. For water quality, it's filtering pollution from rivers. For carbon storage, it's locking away greenhouse gases. And for land formation, it's building new coastal land and ecological connectivity linking rivers, wetland, and coastline. Okay, our mangrove conservation offers direct support. That is for SDG 2, 8, 11, 13, 14, 15, and 17. Okay, this is our local government initiative. MBSP lead with strong local policies, local action 21 program for sustainability, plastic reduction and waste separation, river management and pollution control, education campaign in school and communities, and we believe change begins at the local level. Okay, we also, Bramprai Municipal Council also actively collaborate with ministries, the Penang State Government, government agencies, and NGOs, and corporate partners to strengthen sustainable environment. biodiversity conservation, and coastal ecosystem protection. This partnership enhance policy enforcement and resource mobilization for mangrove protection. And partnership with NGOs incorporate private sectors, NGOs and community groups contribute through education, advocacy and restoration project. Together, we build a resilient ecosystem. Okay, our works align with Malaysia's climate change policy and national agro-food policy, and we contribute to climate resilient food security and sustainable fisheries while supporting global SDGs. Okay, this is our community cooperation. Okay, local fishermen, community leaders, NGOs, and industries are at the heart of our effort. Initiatives like mangrove planting in various sites show how grassroots action can drive meaningful change. Okay, we have empowered the Local Action 21 committee to plan and monitor mangrove program, facilitate collaboration with fishermen, promote innovation and community engagement, and this centralized approach ensures inclusivity and ownership of the program. Okay, the impact of our program, firstly, inspire youth through nature education, build leadership and entrepreneurship skill, strengthen the community bond, reduce marine plastic pollution, recycle fishing net instead of burning them, and these all are real and measurable impact. Okay, our achievement. Our target is to plant over 100,000 mangrove trees. Each tree absorbs 12.3 kg of CO2 annually and totaling 1,230 tons per year. We prevented forest encroachment and fostered public-private partnership for environmental and social progress. Okay, way forward. Our future goals include expanding mangrove restoration, engaging more communities and industries, combating marine plastic pollution, facilitating fish breeding through agency cooperation, and we are committed to scaling up our impact. Okay, for conclusion, mangrove conservation is more than protecting trees. It's about securing our future, and Sebelum Prime model show how local action can drive global change. With collaboration, innovation, and community spirit, we can build resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future for all. Okay, I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Really thank you, Mohammed, for two things. The first, that each city has a particular ecosystem. In my city, I don't have mangrovium, but the message is that the care for the ecosystem, and in the city language is urban planning and urban environmental policies and urban planning, is a good way to guarantee quality food. First message. And second one, which is also the introduction for our last speaker, is that the connection between local policy and national policies. Because a lot of active policies are not in the hands of cities, depending on the kind of institutional framework. We know that a lot of competencies are in the hands of national government or regional governance. So when we speak about cities, we need to do a step forward and to create more multi-level governance activities and policies to give the power to the city. So this is why we invited and we co-organized this meeting with the Brazilian government, which is related to the experience of Osasco. You can sit here. Okay, you prefer the... They have a program in connection between multi-level governance, in connection between the federal level, that is national level for us, and the city level. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning from everyone. I'm Gisele Bortolini. I'm from the Ministry of Social Development and Fight Against Hunger in Brazil. First, I'd like to thank for the opportunity to be here and listen the all wonderful experience from the different cities from the world and share our experience from the national level to support the cities about the food systems and climate change programs. So I will talk about a framework that we are launching today in Brazil. That is, Anita, sorry. I will talk about food systems and climate reference framework for policies that is launching today in Brazil. And I think next week we will have an English version. That is the first national document to align public policies across different sectors, different levels, and to improve the transition to health sustainable diets, food systems, tackle climate change with climate justice, and ensure the right to educate food, and strengthen food and security policies. Well, like you know, the way we produce, the way we distribute and consume is responsible for the green gas emissions. So we are recognizing this in this document, in this national document, and we know that the climate change affects the food production, the food supply, and the consumption. So we need mitigation actions to reduce the gas emissions. We need adaptation actions. So this framework support the national government, the local and the local governments to improve their actions, considering the relationship between climate change and food systems. So we wanna, with this document, what we want to contribute to expanding the debate about food systems and climate change in Brazil and the world. We want to propose principles and pathways, and we want to promote different actions in different levels. We have some premise. The first is that climate change is a reality, and its effects are already notified all over the planet. But I'd like to add an information that in Brazil, the gas emissions profile is different from the majority of countries in the world. In Brazil, food systems drive 70% of the emissions, because the first is land use, the second is agriculture, and the third is the energy sector, where is the fossil fuel. So we have a complex problem to solve in Brazil, because we need to change the way we produce, we distribute, we consumptions to reduce the gas emissions. So we need to work at national level and local level to change this scenario. The premise two is that food systems are both cause and consequence, like we heard here before. But we know that the food systems are unsustainable, because we know that the food systems has failed to enable health diets to all. In Brazil, we reduce the hunger, but we have the challenge to guarantee the health food for everybody. So we need to work to change these food systems to promote health diets. The premise three is that climate change aggravates injustice and affect the most vulnerable populations, especially the most vulnerable populations, women, Black women, children, indigenous peoples, community peoples. So the most vulnerable populations are the more affected by the climate change. You need to consider this when we are making our policies at local level or at national level. And the cities, the peripheral areas of the urban center are the most affected by the climate change and extreme weather events. So the relations between food systems, food and nutrition securities in cities is urgent. We need to do something. We need to do, we need to planning new actions considering this new scenario. The premise first that currently development models contributes to the climate crisis while it's affected by it. I think that everybody read every day that we have a complex situation about the food price. So this is a result also because the climate crisis. And we, in this framework that we are launching today in Brazil, we summarized different pathways for change to present to the local level, to the different sectors at the national level too. And the first group of pathways, we call it governance, because it's very important, strengthening social participations, ensure democratic governance, secure funding, and initiatives promote international cooperation. We need to improve the actions that we can do about this agenda. And another group of pathways that are present in this framework are grouped in: we need to reorient agricultural productions to reduce climate impact. We need to promote agroecological and sustainable practices. We need to restore and value our social biodiversity. We need to ensure access to water. That is a big problem in this scenario. We need to treat food supply as a state policy and create circular and sustainable cities, build environments that promote health choice, reduce food loss and waste, and invest in science. This is a resume that the many pathways that we put in this framework. And to finalize my presentation, we have a national strategy to support the cities to look the all food systems. So in Brazil, the cities are the protagonists. The cities can change, can provide public policies, but we have many national policies to support the cities. So we can work together. And we have this agenda, the program is called Alimenta Cidades, that in English is Feed Cities. And we want to empower the cities to change. We started with 60 large cities, which together have 64 million Brazilians. We are supporting the cities to look the all food systems, what policies the cities have to produce, to supply, to consumptions. So we try to support the cities to do a diagnosis about the food systems, the diagnosis about the policies that they have, and what more they can do. So we have a support package with many tools, mentorships, training, peer-to-peer cooperation, because the cities have different programs and they can learn each other. So this is an important thing that we can improve. And we financing actions. So we have two arms. We support innovations and we improve and we disponibilize resource to programs to the cities. So the cities are the protagonists of the scenario. Here we have a book that we compiled the several innovations that we identified in Brazil, and we are sharing with another cities to improve their policies. And we have some programs that we disponibilize resources to the cities. So the cities has their programs, but we at national level support the cities with different resources to improve some programs, like Solidary Kitchens, that is a civil society initiative, and we support with food and with resource. And 2026, we support over than 10 million meals. Another programs is the food acquisition programs, that is our national food purchase. Like João said, Osasco received for the first time resource from the national level to do local purchase from family farmers and donate to the people that need that health food. Another program, a national program, is support the cities to implement new gardens. Another strategy as food laws, we disponibilize to resource to modernize food banks. And now we will support the cities to look and improve their look about the relationship about food systems. And this framework will be an example that Brazil will include in a plan that we are doing to accelerate health diets in the COP30. And to end, I'd like to highlight some conclusions. So we hit a lot about the power of cities, and the powers are the protagonists, but we know that national governments can support this. So it's important to prove tools, financing, mentoring, training for cities, support cooperation between cities, support the link and the look about the climate change urban agenda, work through multi-level, intersectoral with social participations. And this kind of programs support the improve in national programs too. So when we look what the cities are doing, we can improve our national programs too. So one national strategy, but many local plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Giselle. I have many questions, but I would like to give the floor to you for the last 15 minutes. If you have some questions in the direction of understanding how can we create a common agenda at the local level with a multi-level governance approach between the climate agenda and the food agenda. So if you have some questions, some experience that you want to share. I collect maybe 2, 3, or 4 questions to, okay.
Thank you very much for very inspiring and excellent presentations. My name is Bích Phạm from Slow Food Community in Hanoi, Vietnam. I have a questions to Helsinki and Minneapolis cities. In your presentation, you mentioned for the planetary diets is also promote for the social equity as well as for the health equity for the children in the central kitchen in the school lunch in your city. And also in your city, mentioned for the project of the homegrown, and it's also much focused on the gardens. And I would like to ask the questions related to support for the farmers, and it has some kind of the main challenges in order that you can support for the farmers and families in terms of that, and also ask the questions to you for the main challenge in order to approach for the net zero until 2040 in your countries, in your city, and how to upscale to other city in order to get the net zero toward 2040 in the whole countries. Yeah, thank you.
There was another question here.
So, good morning, everyone. Great point. I really appreciate it. I will make just a general comment. Gisele has mentioned the Solidarity Kitchens program in Brazil, which is a network of community kitchens. Just for you guys to have an idea, there are currently more than 2,400 community kitchens in Brazil. This number increased a lot during the pandemics. As she said, it's powered by the civil society and the local governments. Of course, they facilitate the work of these NGOs that are running these community kitchens. A second point I would like to highlight is that at the Alimenta Cidades strategy, the Feeding Cities strategy, 19 cities have indicated that they want to start to implement local food waste mitigation plans, which is also very relevant to decrease the mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions. We hopefully will have with us Osasco, that is here represented, Recife as well. And last point, which I think is interesting, João mentioned the Brazilian network of food banks. This network has nowadays 194 food banks, and last year they redistributed 73,000 tons of foods, which is amazing as well, and of course it contributes to the decrease of greenhouse gas emission. And based on what I have seen here in Milan, especially this morning when we visited the wholesale market, I think thinking about a future scenario and some opportunities for local governments in Brazil and in Latin America in general, I would say that there is an immense opportunity for us to foster social retailing, social markets. Just here in Milan, there are 43 social markets. It's amazing. In Brazil, we do not have, we will have no more than 10 social markets, mainly in Curitiba and São Paulo. So this is also a huge opportunity to redistribute more foods and to decrease the emission of greenhouse gases. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. So when I think about the circular economy of food and climate change, of course, there's the economic piece. And I'm wondering, what is the future, what is equity and the economy, and how are they joined so that we have not only we have a green future, but we also have a more equitable future. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Very strong question. I can give it, you can start whenever you want.
Thank you so much for the question. I will try to remember everything. First of all, it's extremely important for us that every single child has access to a healthy and nutritious meal. We are serving school lunches free of charge since 1943, and they are planned based on national nutritional recommendations that focus on fiber intake and protein intake. It is counted that our school lunch provides 1/3 of the nutritional needs of a child per day, and every child should have access on that. And in the future also, our national nutritional recommendations are totally in line with the planetary diet framework, so that's the way we're heading. And the other question was about our emission reduction target, which is 2030, and the net zero target on 2040. And possibly, we haven't decided yet, but anyway, possibly we'll compensate some of our emissions before we reach the net zero. But those are the scope 1 and 2 emissions that we have been focusing for last couple of years, that comes from traffic and energy. But for the first time in our city strategy, public procurements and scope 3 emissions have been mentioned, and I find that extremely important because we know that the scope 3 emissions are multiplied the times that scope 1 and 2, and we can affect on our food consumption to scope 3 emissions. And we, as a public food service provider, have the mandate to promote sustainable diets and plant-based diets. That's the way we all should be heading. Thank you.
Thank you for the question about the challenges for urban agriculture in our city. I didn't talk as much about that due to time, but I think the biggest challenge for Minneapolis is land. So much of our land is already developed. We do not have in our city very much land to grow food on. The land that is there experiences many development pressures to build affordable housing or businesses. So that's the primary challenge. Secondary challenges include water access and other infrastructure, as well as technical assistance, just general knowledge about how to grow food. So many of the available lots are being used for community gardens, so individual residents growing food for themselves and their families. Just a few generations ago in the United States, we were primarily an agricultural nation. Many people lived on farms and grew up on farms and really understood where their food came from. Now only 3% of our economy are farmers, and of course much less in the city. So many residents do not know very much about how food is produced, so they're learning by doing, but as a result they're not producing a lot of food, but we hope that it will help them understand the value of food production, increase food literacy. Erin, you asked about equity and economy, and I wish I knew the answer. I think we all would like to know the answer. The things I can say that are happening in the Minnesota context, in 2023, our state passed legislation authorizing universal school meals. So that means every student gets free breakfast and free lunch every day. It's a very, we had it during the pandemic and saw the incredible value it brought and decided to continue it. And then also in our city, we've worked really hard to establish a livable minimum wage that was phased in over time, and to build tens of thousands of units of deeply affordable housing. We have a housing crisis in our city. So that goes back to the land issue, which is we need deeply affordable housing, we also need land to grow food. So I don't know the answer. Yeah.
About the questions about the green future, I have to say that I think we are in we have a competition between traditional companies and new kind of economic companies that we have to make a deal with the government, third sector, and private sectors. In Osasco, we are working together with the third sector, the private sector, and the public sector. When you make the Osasco's emission, the first inventory of greenhouses emissions, we make to know how we can work, the public policies can work to reduce the emissions. We have the highest point of emissions in the last years in 2021. In 2020, we have the lowest contribution because we are during the pandemic, the COVID COVID-19 pandemic. The main emission sectors, like I said before, we have 42% from transportation. That's a big problem in Brazil. We have 37% from residues made in waste disposal, and you have 21% from stationary power. I believe in a great future if the government invests in programs in our schools with our children. That's why we are making some programs, development new programs in schools to learn to teach the kids about the future. Is like a survival thing that everybody has to work. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. In Brazil, the framework that I present is a guideline. But in Brazil, we have 16 adaptation plans and 7 mitigation plans. And in these plans, we have many actions where we put the people first. So we have in this plan different actions, but structural policies to reduce the inequalities, and with strong public policies. Social public policies. We need protections policies. So like I said, we have 16 sectoral plans. We have a plan for food and nutrition securities, one for cities, one for indigenous peoples, and we try to put the people first, and a look to the most vulnerable population. So I think we need a strong compromise from the governments and with social public policies.
Thank you. So just not to resume, but to open the second discussion. So from now, when we will go to the lunch, we will have the opportunity to go on discussing while walking. Walking is a good way to think. More oxygen. Okay. Well, I think that there are a lot of differences here, but I think that one question is the first: how to create a common agenda between the climate agenda and the food agenda. We know that the climate agenda is more global. How to localize it first. This needs narrative. So you spoke about in a different ways about different languages, different initiatives, soft initiative to create a common ground. So awareness through education and so on. I think that we should think about it in CNCA, Climate Neutral Cities Alliances, which is made by Director of Sustainability. They have a lot of responsibility to do to be effective. They have a lot of problems to create narrative because they have to convince politicians, but also to raise awareness between the cities. So the problem of the narrative, local narrative, is a problem. Then how to measure? Some of you used some kind of indicators. We have to work a lot. We are working on this, but it's not so easy. So we need you to measure something in your cities. It's a common effort. We have to share experiences. So it's really an ongoing discussion. So create agenda, create narrative for the agenda. The agenda has to be fed by data, by information, and so on. And then, as you remember just now, we need structural policies because a lot of so-called practices maybe are fantastic projects, but we have to go beyond fantastic and good pilot projects. Then to, for example, the example of Mangrovian, which can be strange because it's a way to think about the environment from a territorial point of view. So we do need to speak about territorial planning, how to plan our city. Minneapolis say we don't have land. So the problem is to grow food. When we speak about food miles, we need to grow also locally. So how do we manage between the real estate and food growing? So not only fantastic, really fantastic pilot project, but structural policies. Then how to use money. The last example, you spoke about different kind of budgets. We need national government, which is another step. So how, for the next step, this is the discussion. How to put together our cities in each country, in Malaysia, in the US, in Finland, in Brazil, how to connect cities. Please use the last days of this meeting to create connection between the cities of your country, because we do need to create groups and to speak with national governments. So this is kind of some open questions, so not to be solved now. We are perfectly in time, so Francesco will not kill me, and so I'm happy. And we can go on discussing while going to Palazzo Reale, and Francesco is giving up some advice.
Yes, we move as a group, please. So if anyone needs to go to the bathroom, please now. But the walk is not long, it's gonna be 5 minutes. It's next to the cathedral, if anyone has that reference. So we're gonna have lunch with an exhibition next to it. So we're gonna split in these two groups. So yeah, nothing. We'll wait down the stairs, so we move all together. Please be on time. In 5 minutes, we are gonna head. Okay? Thank you very much and happy Food Day. Thank you, CNCA, ESTà, and MDS for organizing this.
And Francesco.